Welcome back to the Burlesque Bulletin podcast. I'm your host, Honey Holloway, and today we are here with a very special guest, all the way from Adelaide. It's LILY LAROY.
Hi,
Hi,
it's so grateful to be here.
how are you going?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm hyped up on a few coffees, so I'm feeling ready to chat.
Me too. This is my
Yeah.
second one, potentially.
Sway. What's your coffee order? What do you drink?
Well, it's changed recently, but now I am an iced latte, of course, decaf, almond milk.
Decaf.
Yes. I used to
Wow.
be just a major coffee girly. Like when I tell my friends that now I've been drinking decaf for like probably almost a year, they're like, what? Like, who are you? Like, I used to run on coffee.
You're like a reformed caffeine addict,
Yes.
love.
Like, I still love it. Like, sometimes I'll
Mhm.
accidentally get a coffee and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling it. But I just love it for the like routine and the taste and the like
Mhm.
little treat. So it's not so much the caffeine that I'm like addicted to now, which is good because
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
good.
have
That's
that
good.
crash.
I'm a caffeine person. I drink like 6 cups a day. I've toned it down. I know. But I feel like I'm stuck in this cycle when I don't drink 6 cups a day. People are like, "Are you okay today?" And I get really annoyed by that, so I just keep doing it. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so unhealthy. I need to relax on the caffeine.
Well, the trick is, I feel like I've got it down pat. So
Okay, tell me.
I used to have like quite a few a day, and then I just start like if I needed one in the afternoon because I'm crashing, I'd just have a decaf instead. So then I'd have
Okay.
a normal one in the morning to get me going.
I've never tried decaf. Does it taste the same?
You have to get a good brand. I'll send you like some
Okay.
good ones.
Okay, send me some links. Put me
Yeah,
on.
because sometimes it just like, especially if you get it out at a shop, like it doesn't hit. Like it's just like,
Okay.
like it's just not.
Okay.
But
It's
if
an
you
imposter.
start,
I don't want to be
yeah,
able to tell the difference.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And now I can't tell the difference. Like it's so good. Once you get a good decaf, you're like, oh my God, this tastes the same and it's great. So
We'll have to train me up.
yeah. But anyways, let's get into the burlesque questions.
Yeah,
So
enough about coffee.
yeah, I could talk about coffee forever. So
Yeah.
and burlesque forever. So so do you know your zodiac sign and your moon and rising?
Okay, I am a Leo.
So
Could you
surprising.
tell? I feel like I give so much Leo
Me
energy.
too.
And my moon and rising are in Sagittarius.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
interesting.
know.
Have you done a chart reading or anything like that or looked into your chart?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. I honestly thought that I was like a Leo through and through, and then I realized there was other aspects that I was supposed to be paying attention to, and I was like, oh, so I don't really know anything about like being a Sagittarius in that way. Like I
Yeah.
just always have identified as a Leo, so I'm
Okay.
always interested to learn.
Yes. And do you know your time of birth as well?
Yeah, 205.
Okay, awesome. We'll figure it out later and I'll have a look at your chart and we can do like a
I'm
mini
excited. Deep
thing.
dive.
Okay, so tell us how you got into burlesque.
I Interestingly enough, I kind of didn't really know that it existed until like a year and a half ago. So I was going through this whole like self-love process over the past like 6 or so years. And I kind of noticed that I was putting things off. Like I would say I wanted to go somewhere and then I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do it on a special occasion. And then I kind of just bit the bullet. And in Adelaide, we have 1910, obviously, the beautiful burlesque venue, and I'd wanted to go there for so long. And the reason I actually ended up pulling the bullet was because I saw a sponsored ad, obviously by Ivana Delude, and I was like, who is this beautiful woman? Like, I want to go and see. So I got myself all dressed up and I ended up finally going. And the minute that I saw it, I was like, that is what I want to do with my whole life. That's my whole personality now. Like, I literally could not believe there was this whole world of like, I don't know, just like women's liberation that I just didn't know existed. Like my mind was so blown. And I remember turning to my friend that I was with and was like, I'm going to do that. Like I'm going to figure out, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And luckily at the time, Gina Sterling was actually in town. So she was doing workshops like a week later. And obviously, once you follow one girl, you kind of start learning all of the people. So I think Ivana had maybe shared that Gina was in town. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to a workshop. So I went by myself and I was like, I have to be so brave. And I did Gina's workshop and from there, it was like, okay, now we're on. It was really challenging, the workshop, because Gina is just really into, I guess, like character work. So I had never really had to like try and like tap into that masculine energy. And it was a challenge, but I loved it. Like I left feeling so accomplished. And within a week of that, I had flown to Melbourne for something else and organized like a private with Gina. And we sat down and I was like, okay, here are my 3 to 6 month like business ideas. This is what I'm going to do. And she was like, you don't need me, girl. Like, what are we doing this private for? But I was like set on what I wanted to do. The minute I started, it was like obsession took over and it hasn't stopped since. It's been like a year and a half now.
I love that. Has that been like your experience in the past with different like interests and stuff, or was it
I
just
am definitely an all or nothing person.
yeah?
I have never been able to do anything like 10%.
Mhm.
When I like love hard. And that was kind of how burlesque felt to me. It was like, I love this thing instantly with everything I've got. And I haven't stopped talking about it since. I think
Mhm.
I'm driving everyone a little bit crazy. But yeah, definitely that's my personality type. Like, I'm going to give it 110% if I'm going to put my energy into it,
Yeah, that's so
for sure.
awesome. Especially having like Gina as like your first like mentoring session, I guess. Like that's so she's like she's so different to everyone, I think, and
Yeah.
also different like she does have that like really strong character and strong facials and stuff like that. And I
Yeah,
think
for she has such
especially
an individual style.
yeah, she really does.
Mhm.
And like for your first like, like what is it, mentor session or whatever, that would have been like pretty daunting, but also like really, really inspiring, I think.
I think like with Gina specifically, she has such a strong aura. And at that time in my life, I was still figuring out not even who Lily was, but who I was as a person. I was definitely a lot more reserved. And I used to, back when I was 20, I used to be like a professional model, and I was kind of the same with modeling. Like I was all in and I was giving it everything I had. And when I was in that kind of space, I definitely felt more like myself. Like whenever I'm obsessed with something and I've got like a purpose, it definitely brings out the best in me. And I had been on such a big journey of self love for the last like 5 or so years coming into burlesque. But it was kind of like the last puzzle piece that I was like waiting to click into place. And as soon as it kind of did, everyone, like my family, were like, we haven't seen you this happy in so long, and we finally feel like you're back to yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Bella did that for me. Like, so she was really great in bringing that out of me, and kind of being in a room full of, I guess, like women that inspire you or have that strong aura. I think it brings that out. So I was very lucky to be able to sit with her and pick her brain.
Definitely. So how did you get your burlesque name?
So Lily is um, kind of a mix between my offstage main name and middle name. My middle name is Lee, and the ending of my first name is Prill, so like Prill Lee. When I was little and I used to do anything that would get me into like mischief or trouble, my mum would always call me Lily. And so I guess like thinking about my burlesque persona, I was like, I want her to be a bit mischievous. I want her to be a bit of trouble sometimes. So that's how I got the first part. And then I was watching Babylon. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I don't think
It's
so.
kind of like, I don't think anyone has really seen it, but it's really fun. It's a really fun, like, over the top take on like Hollywood.
Wait,
And
who's it got
in
in it?
Margaret Robbie,
Oh, I think I've seen
they've
like the
got the like big
trailer.
elephant that comes into the party. It's like it
Yeah.
wasn't, I don't know if it was super well received by
Yeah.
people, but I really enjoyed it. And I was watching it just to get like inspiration on costumes and things in the very beginning. And Margaret Robbie's character is called Nellie Leroy in it. And she is kind of like a girly who is like, I'm destined to be on the screen. Like she's very that energy. And kind of nobody believes that she can do it, and everyone overlooks her. And then eventually she gets spotted in the crowd, and she becomes this kind of like insane actress for the time. And she can really like turn it on, that like, you know, that Marilyn effect. She's got that in the film, but her character is based on Clara Bow. So it's very, very interesting. And obviously Clarabelle was like the it girl of the time during the silent film era. So I kind of just combined those things, and that's how I came up with Lily Leroy.
That's so good because I was thinking, I'm like, I don't know anyone who has a name like that, like Leroy. Like
Yeah,
that's
I didn't
like,
realize how hard it was to think of something that nobody else has. I kind of
yeah.
should have considered that, but I honestly was like,
I mean,
I don't
it's
know,
good.
I'm just
It's
trusting my
unique.
gut. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy now that I have it because I know so many people are like, oh, I really wanted to have that as my name, but somebody else has it. And like obviously when you're new, you have no idea about every performer and every name out there. So you're kind of just doing your best to come up with something. But I'm very grateful that I kind of trusted my gut on that one. So it wasn't too difficult for me to come up with my name.
Yeah, for sure. Who's been some of your burlesque inspirations and maybe some favorite acts?
Okay. Obviously Gina Sterling has to come in to that, as we mentioned before. I mean, the way she just has that control.
Mm.
Oh my God. Like I have never every time I watch her perform, I'm like, this is like history being made. I tell her this all the time. Like when I'm 80, I'm still going to be talking about this. Like
Oh,
you're that
so
like,
sweet.
person in my life. Her specifically her Hey Puppy Chulo act, the one she did at Glamour. I don't know if you've seen that. I think it was her last act she did before she left Australia.
Yes, yeah. I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't seen it in real life.
There's a video on YouTube of her Glamour performance, and it is just like I was screaming watching it. And I was like, it's so good. And you can just tell, like, and the thing I love about Gina's performance style is the way that she feeds the audience energy and they feed it straight back. Such a fun experience. And she looks like she's having the best time. They're my favorite kind of performers as a audience member because you just are like having this fun back and forth energy. And that video specifically, there's so much of that. Like there's one point where the audience is clapping and like she just does the best like tassel twirl. It's amazing. You have to see it. Obviously Ivana, like everyone knows how much I love Ivana. She was obviously the first performer that I ever saw do burlesque. So she was kind of the beginning of everything for me.
That's a good
Um,
introduction into burlesque.
oh,
Like,
absolutely. She is just so refined. I love how well thought out everything she does is. Every act is like her look is so specific. She's really thought about the characterization of it. And she's just, in my mind, a genius. I love her. Um, okay, this is also maybe an interesting one. I would say Phoenix Knight. I love him. I love him. I love him so much.
he's also,
His
have you ever spoke to him or anything?
Yeah, we've DM'd a few times
He's so
because
lovely.
he's so
He's just
nice.
like,
I made a
yeah.
YouTube video that was like me reacting to some of my favorite burlesque
Oh yeah,
performances.
of
And
course, I've seen it. I've seen all of your
and
videos. Like number one fan right here.
oh, thanks. And I put his acts in there from his MX performance.
Hmm.
Oh, the fun. It's just so fun. Just so
Hmm.
fun. And he's so nice. Yeah, I'm obsessed with him. I think he's incredible. I would love to see him live. I've never obviously seen him, so that's one for me to look out for in this coming year. But
Yes.
yeah, they're probably some of my favorite acts.
Well, you have to come to Brisbane to see him, or I'm sure he'll come to Adelaide or something.
Hopefully, I'm thinking about Brisbane for 2025. So
Oh, good, good. So what's your creative process? Does it change up all the time, or is it sort of the same formula?
When I was thinking about doing this podcast, I really thought about this question and I asked my partner, I was like, what would you say my creative process was? Because sometimes it's hard for me to think about my own processes. And he
Hmm.
was like, chaotic. And I was like, oh, cool, that's lovely.
Yeah.
But he said that a lot of the time I like hyperfixate on certain random things and they tend to like bleed into my creative process. So it's really interesting. I think nothing's really off limits with my brain. Like once it grabs onto something, you can't stop me. I'm running that way. So it can really vary. Sometimes it'll be a piece of media that I'm watching and I'm like, I'm obsessed with this thing, and how can I like take this thing and like turn it into a burlesque thing? Sometimes it's music. I like to think that I have kind of a good ear. And musicality as a performer is something that I really care about. I love good musicality on stage. I'm always like, yes, hit that beat. So sometimes it's not usually a costume. Usually that comes after. So it could be like media or music, usually. And then I will start being obsessive from that point on, add it to my OneNote, and then just start like dumping everything in there. I'm definitely like a visual person. So anytime I have a photo shoot or probably anything that I do, especially relating to Lily Leroy, is always got a OneNote attached to it with like 700 things going on. I remember when I did my first burlesque photo shoot with Marcus, I walked in and I had 2 outfits to shoot, and I was like, okay, here are my mood boards. Here are like my posing ideas. I had a playlist ready for both looks as well, for like what I wanted to like invoke. And he was like, wow, you're so prepared. Like, yeah, I really think about all of those aspects, or try to, while I'm creating. I really care about that stuff, all of those like little one percenters. I think for me, when I have like a OneNote or something to dump everything in, it allows me to make sure I'm getting, those one percenters in every area. Like, what does the makeup look like, and what does the hair look like, and what does the costume look like, and how's the musicality, and what kind of character are we playing? So yeah, usually it's a little bit chaotic, but it goes into a OneNote and comes out a burlesque act.
Nice. And can you describe Lily in 5 words?
Oh, okay. I would say that she is determined. She's very determined. I would say that she tries to be inspiring. I try and share a lot, of the not so glamorous moments, or I do my best to be like, look at me doing a terrible stripper push-up. Isn't that fun? um
I
I
think
would say,
that's really important though, because like people see what the acts look like on stage and they're like, wow, like so easy, so polished. Like I could totally
mhm,
do that. But like
mhm.
when they actually try to do it, it's like a lot of work. So I think,
It's so much harder than you think
yeah,
it is. But
exactly.
that's
And to make
burlesque.
it
Like we make it look easy, but it's so
exactly,
hard.
exactly. So I think putting that online and showing like the hard times and stuff like that, it makes it like more real and more like important, I think. So I
Mm-hmm.
really
I
love
try
like,
I try my best. It's like you close your eyes and post it, like
yeah.
it's not always easy, and it definitely sometimes makes me feel like, oh, especially in the beginning, oh my God. Trying to post a video of me talking, I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this.
Oh yeah,
It was really like exposure therapy.
I totally had like a mental breakdown the first time I saw like the first episode of Burlesque Bulletin. I was like, oh
Hmm.
my God, I can't post this. Like I was just
Yeah.
my voice, but just everything. I was like, do I say that? Like, do I say that much? Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
I did that.
It's
Like all these
really,
little
really
things.
hard. It's really hard to get comfortable. I mean, I spoke about this a lot in the beginning online, but like the fear of being seen is so real. And we
Mhm.
all experience it in such a like intense way. And it's so silly because like if you're not posting genuine content, like everything that you want to post, then you kind of get stuck in. I mean, before burlesque, I wasn't posting anything on Instagram because it was just like a selfie and then a selfie. And then I was like, people surely are sick of this now. Like, I'm sick of this now. And it was all, I guess, about like getting like if before burlesque, if I'm posting a selfie, it was just like, oh yeah, like I want people to know that I looked nice. Like there was no substance to it.
Mhm.
And so I think like getting over my fear of being seen and being able to share those real raw moments online, and like also knowing that people that maybe don't like you, or people from your past that might judge you, are probably going to come across, that is really hard because you're like, oh, I don't want them to see that I've like had a rough time, or that things haven't been perfect for me, because keeping up appearances and all that stuff. But I think once you realize that like everyone is really online to connect, It makes it a lot easier because I definitely receive so many lovely messages from people when I post those types of things that makes it feel worth it. It's like I love seeing other people post that stuff because it makes me feel less alone. So it's like really, if we utilize social media for that purpose, I think it could be a lot more of a positive space and can actually do us a lot of good rather than a lot of detriment, which, social media also has the capability to do. But
Definitely.
yeah. Oh, where are we at? What was the question?
Um, one sec. I think I'm just gonna check the time because it's just popped up and said something
Oh
about.
no, I told you I'm a talker.
No, no, you're totally fine. I'm just like, I hope it just kept going. Yeah, I think we've got 5 minutes, so we might like pause it and then we'll come back on and then do like a thingy. I just hope it didn't stop when you said all that good stuff because it like popped up like a few minutes ago and I was like, I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
No, no, you're fine. No, it's totally good. All right, I'm gonna stop. A quick thanks to Cam Attree for sponsoring the Burlesque Bulletin and for all his hard work behind the scenes, filming and editing the podcast. Cam has been involved in the burlesque industry for over 12 years through his photography and videography. If you are a performer looking to get promo photos and video, or a producer looking to get your show photographed or filmed, please contact Cam through his website, camattree.photography, or find him on Instagram at camattree.photo-video. And now back to the episode. Okay, so what's your other two words to describe Lily?
I would maybe say fun. I think I like to try and have as much fun as possible on stage. And in general, like with my content and stuff, I'm always trying to like just have a good time, It's not that serious. I always say like we're literally just like the most silly performers in the world because we're just showing our fingers to people and like people pay money for that. That's so funny. Like you can see them for free, look. And then maybe, oh, what have I said already? I've forgotten. Determined,
Fun,
inspiring,
inspiring.
maybe expressive. Did I say that one already?
I don't think so, but that's a good one.
Okay, expressive, I would say. I give a lot of face.
You do. And that's the best part. It does look like you're
My
having
photos,
fun.
every time they come back, I'm like,
Oh yeah, I got my photos for my last solo and I'm like, do I always poke my tongue out that much? Like
oh,
80% of my photos is like,
every video of me, I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, can I stop
I
for
know.
5 seconds?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, so all of these like I can't post I want to post all of the photos, but all like 80% of them are just with my tongue out. So I'm like,
I used to feel really self-conscious about that, but it's always been a thing with me. Whenever I'm concentrating, my tongue just comes out.
yeah,
I don't know why,
it's just
but I
fun. You're just doing a little
recently, yeah, you're just doing a little but I have stopped feeling self-conscious about it, and this might help you too. But
okay.
I've recently become obsessed with the NBA. Don't ask, I don't know.
Random.
And I realized that Michael Jordan, that was like his signature thing when he would dunk, he would stick his tongue out. So now I'm like, this is very Michael Jordan of me. Like he was so
Oh,
iconic, so it's kind of cool.
okay, that's a little bit more cool because I was just thinking I'm like Miley Cyrus, like
No.
2014 or
should
whatever that
start
was.
we should start like a online like thread of everyone with their tongue out pictures.
Yes, oh my God. It's like what's that hashtag? I think it was Vivian Vermont started and it was like bad face or something or like giving face, like something.
Giving fame.
Yeah, and so it was all like the bad photos of you just sort of doing like the weirdest looks. But we need to start our own, but like just the tongue one.
Yeah, we need to come up with a quirky hashtag. I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Let's do
We'll brainstorm.
it.
Do you have any pre-show routines or rituals that you like to do?
I am a meditation girly. I love to meditate.
Oh my
I'm
God.
very like in the zone. So I try and do a pre-show connecting with my higher self meditation. It really grounds me, and it really helps with like the pre-show jitters. I used to get them really bad, and like before my debut, I actually whenever I have a problem, I'm always trying to think outside the box to fix it. And before my debut, I like knew I was going to be so nervous. So I pre-recorded myself having a conversation with myself.
Oh my God. I have literally thought about doing that because like I also used to meditate quite a lot. I don't so much
hmm
anymore. But I really have to find like a good one. And then
hmm
one day I was like, why don't I just record myself and see
Yeah, I did
exactly what
that.
that's
And it
brilliant.
really helped me. Like because I recorded it at a rehearsal. And during rehearsal period leading up to my debut, like I was really hard on myself. I'm very perfectionist type personality, which is really annoying. And I think in the beginning of burlesque as well, you mentally can do things that you physically can't yet do. And I find that process like really frustrating because you're like, I can see it, but my body just can't do it. And so I used to get really worked up. Like there was tears, like there was tantrums, there was a lot. um, and I remember I sat down after one of the good rehearsals, and I just wanted to have like a conversation with myself that was like, if you are actually making it onto stage, like props to you, Queen. And I listened to it before I went on stage, and it really did help me feel like, I've got my own back. Like that really helps me connecting with that higher self that sometimes she's not visible when I'm stressed out or anxious and like running around like a headless chicken. um,
Yeah.
she's definitely more in that calm energy. So doing some sort of meditation where I'm connecting that like energy of who my best self is with kind of the parts of me that are vulnerable and scared and nervous and afraid of failing. When those two come together, then I'm solid. So pre-show, I always try and do some sort of meditation. And now I'm really starting to understand the importance of warming up. As somebody who does not come from a dance or performance background, uh, and having no experience in how to prep your body for a show, again, Miss Ivana Dillon comes through with the goods, and she has told me time and time again, you better be sweaty before you go out on that stage because you don't want to walk out and have those muscles being used for the first time because they're going to be stiff.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's all about the day, warming up, like stretching as much as possible. And yeah, just grounding myself before I kind of go out and try and have a good time.
That's good. That's so awesome. I think that's super important. Do you like have a like morning routine? Not so much just on a show day, but like, are you a routine person?
I am. I definitely am. I don't like when routine changes. And I'm definitely like once my brain turns on, I gotta get up. Like I'm not somebody that can sleep in. I'm usually up at like 6:30, even on a weekend, much to my fiance's dismay. He is not a morning person. So I'll be playing like some sort of music on a boombox. I'm that guy. I'm like, time to get up. Here we go. Like, and I'm constantly like somebody in the morning who's like full of affirmations. So before Sam leaves for work every day, I'm like, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you've got this. Like I have so much energy in the mornings.
Yeah.
But I try and kind of keep myself in a solid routine. I like control. I'm a bit of a control freak. So
I feel
I
like we're
love
so similar in so many ways.
I love that for us. A budding romance is happening between us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely a creature of habit. Love to have like music on while I shower. I like love to try and give myself that positive vibe in the morning. And whenever I don't do that, like whenever I'm really exhausted, glitter crashing, whatever that may be, and I just stay in bed and like put Netflix on, I always just feel really like out of whack.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely a morning routine type of person.
I always like try to describe that feeling. Like I feel really claustrophobic. Like that's the only way I
Mhm.
can describe it is like not a heaviness or not like sadness, but just like ooh, like I just don't feel good.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm doing my best when I'm not in a routine and like I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm always striving, which is kind of exhausting sometimes. So I think you do need those days where you're like, no pressure today. I don't have to do anything. Where your body can rest. It's more a mental thing with me as well. Like when I'm having those days where I don't get up and follow those routines, my mental like gets really stressed out, but sometimes my body just actually needs to rest and I need to like chill out for a second. But I find
Yeah.
that hard to do.
Yeah, me too. I'm just like, I've got to listen to my body before I actually
Yeah.
burn out. And then I'm like, I can't get off the couch or something, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So what's one of your favorite things to do outside of burlesque?
So I, at the moment, love to make a high tea. I'm
Oh,
obsessed with
okay.
baking and like creating high teas. I've been watching a lot of videos on high teas and like perfect cucumber sandwiches. Like it's a whole
Okay.
thing. And yeah, that's what I do often on my weekends. I work in a vegan cafe in Adelaide, and it is my favorite thing. So all day we just serve people high teas, and I've got like super invested in trying to create like a perfect high tea. And I love baking because I used to do it with my mum when I was little, and I find it really therapeutic. Most of the time, it's actually very chaotic, but mentally, I like to think it's going to be really chill. The other day, I was making a high tea. It was my day off, and everything was going wrong. Like puff pastry burnt. Don't know what was happening. It was just not my day to be baking. You know when you have those days and everything goes wrong?
Mhm.
That was me in the kitchen, and I was trying to listen to like classical music because I love to romanticize my life. Like
Yeah,
I'm big on that. So I'm
totally.
like, it's gonna be such a nice day. I put on a little dress and I was like baking, and everything kept going wrong, and I was getting so stressed out. And then there came a point where I had scone mixture all over my hands. I realized I had put like the wrong quantities of things in, and then on the speaker, the like can came on, and it was so stressful because my I couldn't turn it off, and I was like, like it was so
Yeah.
like, so that's like expectation versus reality with me. But yeah, high tea is something I'm really passionate about. I've been watching videos also on like table etiquette and high tea etiquette. Currently,
Oh,
that's what I'm focusing on in my downtime.
wow. That is so not what I expected you to say. I'm pleasantly surprised.
I'm honestly like, I just hyperfixate on things, and no one is ever like shocked. Once you get to know me, you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Like my hyperfixation at the moment with the NBA, I'm like constantly talking about Michael Jordan. It's just what's
So
happening? You
random.
know, I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
High teas and Michael Jordan go together perfectly in my mind.
Yeah. So what does a normal day look like for you?
So I wake up pretty early, like I said, and then I will try and do a workout. I usually work out at home. I don't have a gym membership. So I just kind of try and incorporate a lot of stretching. I really want to get my splits. So that is a big focus for me. So I try and stretch that every day and just like do some strength training because I think like the routines and things that I have in my mind for 2025 require some higher skills. So I'm really trying to prep my body for that at the moment. And then most of the week, I go to work at the cafe, which is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. We just listen to like fantasy music, or actually we have like a playlist that has a lot of the songs from Shimmery in it, which kind of was like a universal coincidence because I don't know if you know the story, and I'll try and be really quick about it because I'm a rambler. But when I got Shimmery, I actually was fired from my office job because of Shimmery. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
lost my job to follow my dreams. But it ended up working out for me because when I came back, I landed a job in a place that I used to go to study about burlesque. Like I used to go into the cafe and sit there because it's really vintage and sweet. And like I said, they play really beautiful music. So I just sit there and like watch burlesque videos. And I always used to think how amazing it would be to work there. So I ended up landing that job while I was in Melbourne so that when I came back, I actually was like, working in this place that had a lot of, I mean, it's not like burlesque influenced, but it felt like it was the right place for me, which is so special. So usually I go there, bake scones all day, and just like, have a good time.
That's perfect. Like
Um,
everything's like aligning.
yeah. And those little things, like, I don't know, sometimes if I like hear a song that reminds me of someone, I just feel like those synchronicities about life are like really important. And for me, being like kind of a spiritual girly, it reminds me that I'm on the right path, even though I might not be able to have everything figured out or know exactly where I'm headed. I think coming back from Shimmery on such a high and being able to land in a place where like the little Shimmery soundtrack is playing in the background while I'm baking scones, I'm like, it's gonna be fine. The universe has me. I'm gonna be okay. So yeah, I really love my job. It's really fun. And then usually in between, like on the bus there and on the bus home, and then when I'm home, I'm content. I'm creating, I'm posting, I'm editing. Like it's a non-stop. I'm constantly working on burlesque stuff every day. I've learned to chill out a little bit because it used to be like 7 a.m. iPad, and it was like too much. I was never giving my brain any time to rest. But content is a big part of what you know, if you're trying to turn it into potentially a career of some sorts, it's a part of it. Learning how to do the business aspect of content can be really overwhelming. So I try and focus on that every day.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's a lot to be like an entrepreneur, like your own business. You are your own business and you've got to do
mhm.
everything.
Every aspect of it. And
A
I think
lot.
I always talk about this as well. Like burlesque is so like to really master the craft of burlesque, it's like doing uni degrees in a million things. It's like costume design and makeup and hair and analytics and content and marketing. Like there's so much to it that I think people really underestimate how much it takes to be great at burlesque. There's so many areas that really require a lot of foundation and building on that and constantly evolving that art as well is, you know, it's a lot and you have to really be like clued on. You have to be
Mhm.
paying attention and doing your research, and analytics are hard to understand, like
So
utilizing your
confusing.
platform. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like
But
sometimes we'll get like I'll be like, oh, this video is so good. Like, we're gonna get a good amount of views. And then we get like hardly anything. And then another video
oh,
will get like a couple of K. And I'm like, okay, like why that one, but not this one when they're like both
mhm.
amazing? Like, I just don't understand.
It doesn't make sense to me either. Every time I think I'm posting my most interesting thing, it always gets like the least amount. And then the thing that I think is like, oh, just, you know, probably no one cares about that. I post that and that will always be the most popular thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's just about understanding your audience, and also like going over that, you know, and really banking in, okay, this is performing well. This is what the people want to see, and understanding your demographic and what you're actually trying to, I guess, cultivate for them. But I love the business aspect of burlesque as well. Like working, I used to be somebody who worked as a senior retail manager, and I was really passionate. And then I learned about capitalism, and I was like, I hate that. um, and then I moved into, oh, sorry, I have to cough.
Okay.
The capitalism got me. Um, and then I moved into the office world, and I was kind of like, I always felt really undervalued, or like people didn't really look at me as somebody who was going to have that skill set. I don't know whether that's because I just don't have a uni degree or whether that was kind of imposter syndrome in the office sense, but I've always kind of felt like people underestimate me. And so when I learned that you could add, I guess, the business aspect to burlesque as well, I was like, well, perfect. I'll never underestimate myself. Like I can give myself those flowers. And everything that you kind of learn is you're building your skill set, you're building your resume. Even if you ended up not doing burlesque, like you've still now got all of these skills around content creation that you just didn't have before. And I always have been somebody who loves content creation regardless. Like when I was working in retail, we ended up making a lot of the content for the Instagram pages because I would hire photographers and stylists to be like my casuals in my team so that we could make content.
Oh my God, that's
Um,
so smart.
yeah. And I used to work at Agent Provocateur when I was younger. I was one of their shop girls before they closed down in Adelaide, and I would always be trying to make content for them. And even before that, I would make newsletters when I was like an assistant manager or retail manager with like lots of pictures and pie charts that nobody asked me for. But I love content creation. I think it's really fun. It can be really draining and really daunting though. Like once you start being like, I have to post every day, it becomes like trying to think of ideas and film and edit. It is so much, but
Yeah.
it's rewarding at the same time because, you know, people are really connecting with you. And no matter what number you have, I guess, as like from a following standpoint, like I think I'm almost at 3,000 now. And I started with 600. And that was like, I changed my personal Instagram into my burlesque account. So all of those followers that I've gained are like organic people that are like with me on my journey. Like that's
Mhm.
pretty incredible. Imagine standing in a room with that many people who are genuinely like cheering you on. It's very hard, very easy, sorry, to I think look at the number and dismiss it, but actually like stand in a room with like 3,000 people who are like,
Mhm.
we want to see everything you're doing. We support you. Like imagine how incredible that would be, you know? So
I always have to think of that as well because it's like, you know, burlesque and like obviously this podcast is so niche that,
mhm.
and obviously being shadow banned, like the name being shadow banned and everything is like difficult,
Mhm.
but like I really have to break it down and be like, there is like over 100 people listening to every single podcast. Like that is wild. And
Mm-hmm.
like it's only like been a year since we've started, or less than that. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
amazing.
yeah, and I'm like, those are the people that I want to see, like want to listen to the stuff. Like they're the most important because they come back
Mm-hmm.
every single episode. Like it's consistent. Like I don't really care about the virality of, videos and stuff like that, because
Mm-hmm.
it's more like I want the authentic people, and I want the people who
Mm-hmm.
love burlesque and, want to see that all the time and everything like that. So I'm like, it's quality over quantity, but it is so
Yes.
hard sometimes to, see some of your fellow favorite creators or whatever. And, they've got like millions of followers. And you're like, oh, like I'm never going to get there. But you're like, hang on, I don't think I want to get there, because
And
that's
also,
got its
I
own
think
set of
it's,
problems.
I heard something really recently that I found amazing because I'm always the type of person that's looking at like, I want to be over here, I want to get there, I want to get there, I want to get there.
Mhm.
And like, I have trouble sometimes being present and being like, no, but think about where you were a year ago. Like, I often
Exactly.
check myself and go back over those videos and look at my life from that standpoint and compare the two and go, wow, like, you could have only dreamed of this life a year ago. So let's like
Mhm.
be grateful for a second. But I saw this creator, she's a photographer from New York, and she said, if you got everything that you ever wanted right now, do you actually think that you would be ready for it? Like mentally, physically, like would you have the capacity to take that on? And I was like, hold on a minute. That's some
Mhm.
really great advice, because she was saying, there are more things that I could be implementing in my everyday life to like mentally prepare myself for that stage. And I really want to be ready for it when it comes. And I was like, that's a really good way of looking at it. Like instead of just wishing it would all of a sudden come to you, I
Mhm.
think also the more followers you get, the more pressure it is. Like the more viral you go, there's more pressure to keep doing that. So I
Mhm.
think there's also beauty in the kind of like quiet and the building of those things and the building of people that are invested in your journey. Because, yeah, it's more pressure when you're up there and you're at the top of your game and people are expecting those posts every single day and they want that fresh content and to be ahead of the curve. Like right now, I feel like people are just like happy to see what I'm posting. There's not really any expectation. If I don't post for a couple of days, I don't think anyone gets really upset or,
Mhm.
you know? So there's that freedom in that as well that is to be appreciated, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much to our guest for being on the podcast and letting us take a peek behind the curtain of their lives. Thanks for everyone joining us, and we will see you in our next episode.